Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Luke and Biddulph Council meeting for Tuesday, September 6th. And I would like to call our meeting to order. There are no additions to the agenda. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. So the first Tuesday in September always seems to signal a return to routine after the dog days of summer. And we do wish everyone a safe first day of school tomorrow, as today was a PD day. We hope that in the excitement of returning to class, students remain safe. And I want to send a thank you out to our crossing guard team. They have an important job, and we are thankful for the job that they do. Since we met in August, our MP, Leanne Rood, honored individuals from across her riding of Lambton, Kent, Middlesex for their volunteerism with the Queen's Platinum Jubilee recognition. And volunteers honored that serve our community were Kelly O'Connor, Sheila Hodgins, Jackie Martins, Marlene Thornton, Barb Tuxford, Phyllis Gower, and Bonnie Foran. And I want to send, on behalf of council and our staff and our residents in Luke and Biddulph, congratulations to all of them. We all know the importance of volunteering, and Luke and Biddulph is certainly better for their service to our community. I also want to take this opportunity to remind you of my annual September PSA. September 1st marks the start of Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. As the mother of 4 men, a wife, and a sister to 2 brothers, and the daughter of someone who passed with prostate cancer, I am keenly aware of the steps that men need to take when addressing their health. So show the men in your life how much you care about them by sharing the important information to get tested. Remember, when diagnosed early, this cancer is very treatable. So tonight, as we return to routine of 2 meetings a month, we have no closed session, and we have no public meeting, and we have no delegations. So it's just us. So that will move us right into the minutes. And we've got in front of us the minutes from our August 9th meeting. And if council didn't see anything from those minutes that needed to be amended or updated, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of August 9th as circulated. Councillor Regan and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor, and those are carried. There wasn't anything added from to the business arising, and I don't know if council has anything that they wanted from the last set of minutes to be added. There was an update in that the urban design standards are still ongoing. But if council had any questions or anything that they wanted to speak to on business arising. Councillor Regan.
Madam Mayor, thank you. If just checking, I know that Jeff had mentioned something about a traffic calming plan that we had in place about the measures that we are going to take place. And I think I asked a couple of meetings ago. I don't know if that's something we should put on here. I just don't want it to get lost. If that's something we could do. Sure. And I didn't know if there was, I'm not asking for an update, Jeff. Sorry. No, I was just wondering if that's, I just noticed that when I was reading that we had talked about it. It wasn't
Did that,
there.
I think that had to do with a series of measures like traffic calming.
Yes.
and our speed in various sections. So however you want to title it, if we can add that to business arising, and then it could just be ongoing. But you're right, Councillor Regan, we don't want to get that
Okay,
lost.
right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Jeff.
If there wasn't anything else on business arising, that will take us into correspondence. So we've had a number of items that have been received since our August 9th meeting, and 2 have been pulled for discussion. One was an email that was sent to council from a resident in Granton, and it has to do with backyard chickens. I don't know, Ron, if you wanted to give a little background on that before I open it up for comment.
I can do that, Madam Mayor. Thank you. So the issue arose when there was a bylaw complaint made by a citizen in Granton with regards to their neighbors. So when we get those types of complaints, the normal protocol is to send out the bylaw enforcement officer to investigate the complaint, see if it's valid. And if it's valid, then he deals with it at that time. He did find that there was chickens on the site, and he asked or informed the people what the bylaw contained, and that is there's no livestock, of which chicken is classified as livestock in the urban zoned areas. So they were told to get rid of the chickens, and that is what gave rise to this email before council today. So really what they're asking for is I believe, I'll paraphrase, but I think they're asking for some consideration to amend the zoning bylaw to allow backyard chickens.
Okay, questions, comments, discussion, Councillor Westman.
Yeah, I'm being the counselor from Ward 3, which includes Grant, and I'm very familiar with this situation. And some good points were brought up by not only the folks that wrote this letter, but from other citizens in the area that are in support of keeping backyard chickens. And I have to say that I have no big problem with backyard chickens, provided, of course, that they are kept well, that they don't create a smell or any nuisance to the neighbors. I've had some great discussions with people in the community, and the idea of food security came up because there are some huge benefits to having fresh eggs that aren't raised with antibiotics and growth hormones and things like that. There's some huge advantages to having animals like that the children can learn to look after and care for in their own yard. And it's a great learning opportunity for them. And, they're generally pretty benign as far as noise and odor, as long as they're cared for properly. So, I certainly, as an individual and as a member of council, I've given this a lot of consideration and thought. And, I really hope that we can at least find some kind of middle ground or some kind of a way for at least on a limited basis to be able to allow this. And now there was some conversation about where do you draw the line? And, obviously we wouldn't expect to see someone keeping chickens on their balcony in an apartment, or, in a small backyard at a townhouse. That might not be even practical for them to do that. But where there are larger yards, where there is a more open environment for them, keeping a couple of chickens is not the worst thing in the world. And I just wanted to make sure that we understood that this wasn't going to turn into coops full of 100 chickens and egg sales at the street. It's just a few people keeping a couple of chickens in their backyard, maybe a half dozen at the most, where they can have some fresh eggs, have some opportunity for their kids to learn, and that's it. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents into the mix. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Westman. Any other comments to be raised by council? Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess just a question on, this is a correspondence received, so we don't have a motion to take any action right now at this time. But maybe through you to staff, what would this process look like if we were going to go down this road of allowing this? Would the bylaw have to be amended or changed? And then can that be applied to just like one property, or does that have to be like a blanket amendment to the entire bylaw?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I believe the process would be, if council is interested in at least discussing this further, what should happen is a full staff report be brought forward for that. So there should be a motion to instructing staff to bring forward a report. And for that report, I would suggest that we should talk to bylaw enforcement, zoning, quite possibly public works. But there's a few agencies that are going to have to provide input into that report. So it's not something that I'm going to be able to get, that staff is going to be able to get to council in the next 2 weeks or anything like that, but, you know, I think, so that's one possible course of action. The other course of action is, of course, they have asked to appear before council, and that is, I would suggest up to council. If you're willing to at least look at the issue, then I would suggest that maybe it's appropriate to have them come, you know, and I don't know what our schedule is like. We'll have to fit her into the schedule at some point. But that's another possibility. So there's a few options before council.
Right, Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just maybe for clarification, as when staff does, if staff is going to look at this. So the letter mentions if, unless they live in an A1 zoning area, and I'm just, again, you don't have to answer this right now, but I don't know if that means you'd have to change the zoning, and I don't think it's something you can do because it's zoned residential from what I understand. The other thing too is maybe look at the historical perspective from whether or not we've ever been asked to do this before from any resident at all. And I guess to Councillor Hodgins' point about parameters, about how do you, I mean, and to Councillor Westman's point about parameters, that would be a concern of mine too. It's about just, you know, who and how many and where. The issue, the other issue that I would have to do, and there may be some investigation, is respect to where do I draw the line? And a little more to Councillor Westman's point, if that chickens are okay, then do I get a text message in 5 minutes saying, can I keep turkeys and pot-bellied pigs? And I can get another text message from other residents saying, Dan, I don't want anybody living next to me with chickens. So I'm not sure we need to look at all of that, I think, but I do support a recommendation or a motion that staff does look at this, please.
Okay, thank you. And I think if that's where council goes, a lot of your questions, I think, would be answered in that from a historical standpoint and everything. Deputy Mayor Manders, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, because I guess I have no problem with the staff coming back with a report, but you know, there's two things that concern me is that we represent both parties. The party that's obviously has a concern of the smell and the chickens, that's a violation of our bylaw, and us that all passed the bylaw in a majority that we supported this bylaw. So to be in violation of the bylaw, I don't know where everyone sits on the time of ignoring the other ratepayers' concerns. So if everyone's in favor of ignoring their concerns, I don't know where I sit on that. I look at this as you know, there's a violation of the bylaw, enact the bylaw, but move forward to see what can be done. But I'm not in favor of a bylaw that a majority of council decided to do and not support the ratepayer, and that's not backing our bylaw that we supported. So
I think what you're saying is, yeah, okay, the bylaw's in place. It's being violated. That's one issue. And then is there?
And then bring this forward for future discussion.
Right.
For future discussion on either changing the bylaw or leaving it as is from the staff report.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor.
Councillor Westman?
Yeah, I have a thought on that. So 16 years ago, when I came on council, we had an issue with parking enforcement. And that was a key matter that I brought forward to council and was quite passionate about. That writing parking tickets during the summer months was impractical and not fair to the ratepayers, that we have parking enforcement to deal with snow removal. That was a bylaw that was agreed upon by the majority of council, and it was something that everybody stood behind. But there was an understanding at that point that practical application of bylaws is more important than just the arbitrary enforcement of them. So, things change as we go forward, as we grow as a community, as we, as people come and go, the needs of the community can change. And, we live in a time where food security is an issue, or food insecurity is an issue. And we've countered that in some ways by encouraging and promoting community gardens. We've encouraged the farmers market and things like that, where we can have fresh, reliable food sources within our community. And, there is a call for or an interest in having a source of eggs and protein from chickens in the community. And we are essentially a farming community around the area. So, things change, and we can stand for a bylaw this year and vote in favor of it, but things change, and a year from now, or 5 or 10 years from now, we may be looking to change that bylaw to meet the new needs of the community or the new wants and desires of our ratepayers. So that's mine.
Thank you. So I think, I don't think that that we have the information tonight to make a decision on changing a bylaw, as the CAO walked us through, that there would be a process involved with that, and all the questions out there could be addressed. So I would probably say to council that that would be the way to go. I don't know if at that time whether the author of the email would want to make a presentation then as well. But I think it would have to, if that's the direction council wanted to go, I think it has to be clear that it's on the bylaw and not on the infraction. Because I don't want the two to be muddied, because I think the deputy mayor brings up a very good point in that as it is today, there's an infraction, and we can't just say, we're going, yes to okay to one infraction. And everybody else is out of luck on that one. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, if I may, so the example you used with the parking issue, we didn't retroactively write off people's tickets in that instance, for example. So I think that's what I'm hearing around the table. So that is one of the questions I did or wanted council to address, as to are we going to just sit back and let these people keep their chickens? But I'm sort of collectively getting the sense that no, the bylaw is the bylaw now. What we do going forward will determine whether they can get them back. But at this point, they're in violation of a clear violation of the bylaw, and we have to proceed forward.
Madam Mayor, with your permission. Yeah, absolutely. That's not what I'm suggesting, but I am suggesting that we, as a council, and all future councils and past councils, have come up against where there was a bylaw that was maybe not as serviceable to our community as it needs to be, and we make changes accordingly. We've amended bylaws over the years numerous times to meet needs of the community or desires of the community, and I think that's important. But yes, there, as it stands right now, there is a violation, and I get that, and I'm fully acknowledging that. So that's not my point. My point is that there's room for bending, right?
Okay, so with that, we would need a motion to direct staff to come back with a staff report. And I would ask that the report not necessarily, for lack of a better word, pigeonhole staff into a timeline. We've got a number of things happening over the next month, 2 months. But that be something that staff does bring back, I think. But without, I don't think it's fair to staff to say that they need to bring it back for next council meeting, because this one's going to take a lot of work. Okay, so you make that motion, Councillor Westman? Yep. Okay, and a seconder for that, please. Deputy Mayor Manders, is there any further discussion on that? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you very much. The next one that was pulled, and this is not necessarily a letter, it's more information. Every 10 years, the boundaries for our federal ridings have to be reassessed and looked at. And so that is what's happening at the moment. And staff's provided the information on the public process, as well as what the redistribution map look like. I know Ron has got some stuff to add to this, but kind of tell you where we're at this stage. The riding that we find ourselves in is Lambton, Kent, Middlesex. Yes, it is a very large riding. Geographically, it's the size of PEI. But for the most part, it takes in all of Middlesex County with the exception of Thames Center. It goes down into part of Kent County, and then it takes in a Lambton County as well. And the lines that are being proposed are being revised to be redrawn. And it's just not our riding, it's all of southwestern Ontario, all of Ontario for that matter. But what is of interest, and anybody that's watching, I would say there is a public process, and I would say get involved, because the new lines would take Lucan Biddulph and North Middlesex out of that riding, and they would essentially put the riding boundaries that would include North Mid and Lucan Biddulph up with Huron County, and then the lake shore of Lake Huron. So it would include some of Lambton County as well. And so they're looking for public input. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is it a concerning thing? And since I'm talking, I'm going to say I think it should be concerning in how these lines are being drawn. That right now, the way that we do business, we tend to do it collectively as, you know, our neighbors, Middlesex County. And certainly talking to my colleagues, it's felt that if the county boundaries could be respected and keep as much of the county together, that, you know, it would give you lobbying efforts. You are, you know, working towards like-minded issues. When you look at this new Huron Shores riding, takes in the shoreline, of which we have nothing in common with. So I think there's a lot of discussion to come from this. As I say, there's public participation. Tomorrow, the CAO and I are actually meeting with our MP. She's bringing in a number of other elected officials and administration to talk about where we see these, how these lines are drawn and concerns that we have, and try to come up with another solution. If you go down and you look to see how the distribution is with London, it's very urban centric. They'll have 4 representatives. They've taken St. Thomas out of the Elgin riding, and they've lumped St. Thomas in with London. And I think there's some concerns for our neighbors in Elgin County. But certainly there's a process, and I would encourage anybody with interest to be involved. Ron, did you have anything to add?
Madam Mayor, I think you summed it up very well. You know, it is concerning when we're crossing county lines. They're really removing us from the rest of the county and separating us going north. And like the mayor said, we really have nothing in common with the shoreline. And the shoreline protection, erosion, all that climate change stuff is a very different issue for those along the west coast of Ontario. So yeah, there's some problems. I do agree with the mayor. We need to not only just say we don't like this. I mean, I think we all know we can't just say we don't like it. We have to come up with a viable alternative. And we did have a discussion today about, you know, whether that viable alternative should be shared or collectively presented to this group. We've got some time. I think if we want to make a presentation to the group meeting, there is one meeting in London. They did change it from a Wednesday to now a Friday at 6:30 p.m. Very odd timing, but it is at the Ivy Spencer Place meeting hall on Windermere Road. I think it's close to the end of October. So we do have some time to discuss it. I think the CAO group from Middlesex County would like to have a shot at this. I don't know how much everybody's read on this issue, but they've got some population targets that they're trying to meet. So it's, they have a job to do, and I think we have to understand and respect that. But I think we need to come up with a better, more viable alternative to present to them, and not just say, we don't like this.
Okay, and as you say, for anybody that's watching, just as a resident, as a citizen, you can get involved in the process, and that's all on whatever website through the Elections Canada. And I would say have your say put in. Okay, there's a number of other items that have been received, and I wondered if council had any comment on any of them. I will say number 6 is the announcement of the OFA regional annual meeting, and that was last week. I did attend it, and it was very well attended by a number of members of our agricultural community and throughout Middlesex County. The Honorable Rob Black spoke, and he's a senator, and he's from the Fergus area. And I would suggest to you, if you ever have the opportunity to meet with him or speak to him or see him speak, take advantage of it. He's entertaining. He is knowledgeable when it comes to rural and agricultural concerns. He's got a standing invitation that I'm to extend to anybody. If they're ever in Ottawa, he will set up a tour of the Senate for you. But it was a great evening, and I just want to congratulate everybody at the OFA. Crispin did a great job with his annual report. He's visited us a number of times, but as I say, it was a great evening there. Anything else from council? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to letters, correspondence 910 or 91011, I think, if let me just bring this up, make sure I'm strong mayors, and then there's strong mayors Building Homes Act, and then 1011, 2 resolutions, one from Wasaga Beach and Kingsville in opposition to that act. And just very, very briefly, so, and correct me someone if I'm wrong, but the Ontario government is proposing Strong Mayors Building Homes Act, first of all for the city of Toronto and then for the city of Ottawa, but it's going to sort of spread out to the rest of us, to smaller municipalities. And what it does basically is gives mayors perhaps a little more power in determining things like buildings and that sort of thing. And it actually in my opinion anyway, and the opinion of Wasaga Beach and Kingsville, sort of erodes away at the sort of the democratic process. So they've got 2 motions here in opposition to this. And if I just may, Madam Mayor, just read what one of the things from Wasaga Beach. Council does not support the Strong Mayors Building Housing Act, as the proposed changes are not do not demonstrably speed up the construction of housing and will erode the democratic process at the local level, where council members, all of us, have to work together to achieve priorities. We just went through that, I think, with our official plan. What's needed to speed up construction of housing is greater authority for local municipalities to approve development without final clearances from outside agencies. And they have been given reasonable time to provide such clearances. So I would like to suggest that we make a motion in support of the Kingsville and Wasaga Beach resolutions.
Okay. Any discussion on that? So you would be willing to put forth a motion essentially that the Council of the Township of Lucan-Biddulph supports the following resolutions regarding opposition to Bill 3, Strong Mayors Building Homes Act 2022. And those are the 2 from the town of Kingsville and the town of Wasaga Beach. That work for you?
Yes.
Can I get a seconder for that?
I'll make some of it.
Deputy Mayor Manders, is there any discussion on that? I think you make a very good point, Councillor Regan. I think the fear of, I think the concern that the Strong Mayors Act does bring up is the eroding of the discussion and the democratic process for an elected council. So, and it goes beyond, and I guess the question, as Ron and I have had many discussion over the last few weeks about it, is how does this provide more homes? So, right. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor of that motion? And that's carried. And
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
thank you, Councillor Regan, and Tina, you'll promote that as should be. Okay, one last call. Any more correspondence to speak to? Okay, then with that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive our items of correspondence for information purposes. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Blue Water Recycling.
No, we did not meet in August.
Are you meeting in September?
We are.
It's good. CEDC.
No meeting, thank you.
Does the CIP follow under that? Did you want to remind everybody of the CIP workshop? Sorry, while I've got you.
Yeah, we are having a workshop regarding the streetscape strategy design. We have preliminary designs, so that is September 13th, virtually 6 p.m. Information's on our Facebook page, or I can send that out to anyone interested at how to register.
Right, thank you, Lisa. Nothing from Lake Huron. We meet the beginning of October, which will pass or we'll discuss our budget then. Nothing from fire boards, I don't believe. ABCA and Upper Thames, Councillor Westman.
Okay, so we met on August 23rd. Not a lot to discuss. I mean, obviously, there's things going on. We've added additional staff to deal with infractions, alterations, and wetland issues throughout the watershed. So yeah, because there are, there's a lot of activity during the summer months and to do with, various different things, including building permits and what have you. So we've got additional staff on to deal with that. We did some housekeeping things as far as like we've had to do that here too with expenses, bringing our expenses up to date for staff mileage and per diems and what have you. So we've done some housekeeping there. The one thing that came up, I think, was the most interesting and triggered the most conversation was our COVID vaccine requirement for employees. So we had some debate over that, and we are still in debate. We're waiting to go forward at the next meeting to determine whether vaccinations will be required for all employees, new hires and others. So we're kind of divided on that, but we are moving forward. Yeah, that's basically it. We're getting ready for fall activities, tree planting and things like that. So if anyone in the watershed is looking for trees, they should contact the authority, and because the tree orders are going to be happening soon, both at Upper Thames and the Asaba Bayfield. So if anyone's looking to make their fall tree orders, they should be doing that soon.
Is there any social media that they have with regards to that we could share?
I believe so. I get the feed, the ABCA feed, and there should be something coming out soon, but I'll have to ask at Upper Thames to make sure that we have something to
Okay,
pass
and
around.
maybe just pass it along to Lisa.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thanks. Any questions for Councillor Westman on ABC Upper Thames? Okay, Parks and Rec, Paul.
No meeting, Madam Mayor, but through you, we will be having one final meeting of PrAC at the end of September 28th.
Thank you very much. And when you say final meeting, that's of this term, right?
Of this term, sorry. Yes.
Okay, staff reports, Ron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report in front of council tonight is just a bit of an update on the COVID-19 situation. I know everybody's getting tired of COVID-19 this and COVID-19 that. However, it's important to understand we are still in this. Yes, we did declare a state of emergency on the 17th of March, 2020, almost 30 months ago. It does seem like a long time, and yes, we are getting tired of it. However, we continue to operate as normal as possible, and I would like to think that the ratepayers of our community are fairly happy. The work has continued more or less seamlessly. That's not to say we haven't been affected by COVID. We have been affected by COVID, but we have seemed to be able to adjust on the fly And like I said, the work gets done. So the major thing that is in this report tonight is the staff plan to open the council chambers back up to welcoming the public back into the council chambers itself. So I did send out an email to all the other municipalities. Unfortunately, there was a few that didn't get back to me, but the majority, if not all of the ones that got back to me, are completely now open to the public. They don't restrict anybody from coming into the council chambers. So basically, the way it's operating now is the way it was operated prior to the COVID pandemic. So we feel that now is the right time to formally reopen the council chambers. We can advertise that. Obviously, with the ability to do meetings virtual, we will still give that option to delegations. Obviously, the members of the public have been watching us on YouTube, which I think is a great. If there was a silver lining to all of this COVID stuff, I would suggest that was it. And the fact that if somebody's coming to make a presentation, be they from Aqua or whatever group, they don't have to spend an hour in the car coming down to make a half an hour presentation in front of council. It's much more convenient for them. And I would suggest cheaper if it's a consultant, with them being able to just simply log on. And it's almost as if they're in the room. So at this point, unless any member of council has any objections, we are proposing to basically formally advertise that the council chambers are completely reopened to the members of the public effective next meeting.
Any questions or comments on that? And we do have a motion in front of us that report number CAO-13-2022 be received for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Regan and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor? And that's carried. Did you have any verbal updates or anything else, Ron? All right, thank you. We do have a municipal election update report in front of us, and Lisa, I will get you to speak to that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In front of council is my report, just updating everyone on the current status of our 2022 election candidates. Now that August 19th has passed, we have finalized the candidates that are running for 2022, as well as two acclaimed council members, including Deputy Mayor Dave Manders and Councillor Jaden Hodgins. As well as in the report is the school board information of who is running in French and English, public and separate. Voting information right now, we're just working on the voters list. It should be somewhat finalized, as much as it can be finalized, mid-September. Of course, a paper copy is always available at this point for your ward. And I would, like I said, we're still working on revisions. So hoping to have something a little more final mid-September. The online version of the voters list for candidates should be available late September. There will be training provided for those candidates on how to use that online portal. More information. I don't have a date yet from IntelliVote, but hopefully it'll be coming soon. They're just going to work on mailing letters out the next couple of weeks. So that's their focus. Once the election kicks off on October 17th, which is, you'd say, what used to be called advanced voting, that will go from October 17th to the 24th, proper election day. We will have extended office hours one night for voting help center till 6 p.m. or until 8 p.m. Sorry. But during that time, the office will be available for phone calls in person and to discuss the voters list for candidates, or sorry, for voters who may need amendments to the list or to be added. Election day, obviously, October 24th. We will have a Saturday available just before the election. Staff will also be visiting, making arrangements to visit some more senior apartment buildings to assist them on voting. Just providing them more tabulators, providing that sort of assistance on how to actually press the buttons and those sort of things, how to move through the system. I think that is it for now on the election. Of course, everything is on the website for updates as well, if anyone has any questions on that. That's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Regan.
A very brief question, Madam Mayor. Lisa, I was asked by a resident today, just to clarify, during that voting period, if they have problems with the internet voting, they can come here and vote here or get help to vote here.
Yep, through you, Madam Mayor. They can do both. They can vote here. We will have a tablet set up so they can vote, or they can always phone, use their telephone to vote. But yes, they can call the office as well if they have any issues with voting. Typically, we do have some problems with with people putting the website address into a Google search versus at top of the, we've been having that struggle for three elections now. It goes at the top of the bar in the Internet Explorer, whatever you have, and not the Google search. So that typically is the kind of thing we run into. The difference is as well this year is they having to enter birth dates. So that I think we'll have some more issues because hopefully the birth dates are correct. That has come through MPAC and wherever they got those numbers from. And there are some missing birth dates here and there that we don't have that information. So I think we'll have a couple more struggles than normal because of that extra security measure.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Lisa.
Deputy Mayor Manders.
Just to add on to Councillor Regan's, I don't know, it wasn't maybe as clear as I'm going to make it. There is no paper voting in Lucan Biddulph, correct? Like I believe when you asked, I felt you were alluding that could they come here and paper vote?
Yeah, there will be no option for
right,
paper voting.
that's
It
all.
is
I
phone
just
or
felt-
internet only.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just felt maybe that the resident
Just to
maybe was
clarify,
wondering
sure.
if they could come here and there is no paper voting in Lucan Biddulph. Yep.
Oops.
Any other questions or clarifications from the elections report? Okay. Seeing none, then we do have a motion in front of us that report number EO-03-2022 be received for information. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Westman. Did I see your hand up, Councillor Westman? All in favor? And that is carried. We have no building. Finance, Catherine.
I don't have any formal reports, just Treasury's busy with many projects and it's September already, so heading into budget season and year end. So I'm always available if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Catherine. Any questions for Catherine? Okay, no planning. Public Works, Jeff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. I do have one report tonight, and it's a report on the current or the bylaw for our parking in our municipality. The report touches on some proposed updates to the parking bylaw. Staff, we have received comments over the last little while and which triggered this update. One of the comments that we did get on a recurring basis, and I think it was even mentioned in council, that our overnight parking fines are too low, that it's not a deterrent. In fact, that people don't mind paying the parking ticket to stay on the streets and use it as a parking spot. The other comment that we have been receiving, myself and I think Lisa's also received it, that there's a number of vehicles parking on the main street, and they park all day in front of businesses and take up that same spot. And the comment is it's taking away those spots for customers coming to use those businesses. So we as staff, we looked into these two comments that had come forward. In review of fines, in the neighboring municipalities, it was found that the township was low. We currently are $20 when paid within 14 days. And when you compare that to most of our neighbors at $30 around us. So I am proposing that the township increase the fines. I'm proposing the rate increase $15 for the majority of fines. And there is a small amount of fines, but they're increasing based on $10. And it's just a slight variation that they are not at the same level as some of the other ones, but the majority, it's a $15 increase. With that $15 increase, it would take the majority of our parking fines would be set at $35. And that's if paid within the 14 days or $45 after the 14 days. On the other issue of the downtown parking, the goal with our main street parking is to allow people to come and go and to support the businesses downtown. And in discussion with Lisa, staff is proposing that the main street parking be introduced with a 3-hour limit for downtown. The addition of the time limit would be to encourage vehicle owners wanting to park all day to find a different option, whether they can park on a side street or in our parking lot, which would leave the main spots out in front of our businesses for customers. In the process of doing this, we did update the bylaw, and before we brought it to council, we wanted to send it to the ministry for review by them. And in doing so, the ministry did send back one request. That request from the minister was to remove under section 8, this disabled person parking paragraph. And it's paragraph D, no person shall misuse a disabled person parking permit. And the reason the ministry highlighted this for removal was that this offense is actually not a parking offense, as outlined in the bylaw. And if we did want to include it, it would need further interpretation with the wording of it, misuse. So as this parking bylaw that we're presenting to council has been updated based on these 3 items that I just went over. And the rest of the bylaw basically stays the same. Impact on budgets, there really is no impact on budgets. Although we are raising the fines, the hope is that we have less fines to collect. And that the other item, that there would be a cost for the new parking signs installed on Main Street. However, this would be covered under the operational budget that exists in the road department.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Any questions or comments from council on this? Deputy Mayor Manders.
So is this considered from clerks to basically to the arena then? All parking spots? Is that what's the consideration of Main Street? Is it right from there to the township office, both sides?
No, oh, excuse me, sorry about Madam Mayor. I'd asked Lisa for clarification, but we were looking at the William Alice Street up to the George Street
Up to the Haskett's funeral?
Yes, that's correct. So yeah.
Gotcha. It could, I didn't know it could cause issues, I guess, with people maybe parking up that way across from Nevins and, and just walking very small walk for them multiple hours. Because it's not that far away. Nevins, if I work at the Bank of Montreal or if I work over at the cafe or something, it's not a long walk for all day parking. Just a comment, I guess that though could evolve. I assume if we get calls from businesses that are further out those areas saying, you've now created all day parking in front of my spot, that this would evolve and that would be added probably by staff's recommendation.
And through the mayor, yeah, definitely would be evolving.
Yep.
This is again something that we certainly are taking a first stab at this due to just the comments of some of the stuff that's happening downtown.
Yeah, because it would concern me the other way too, of all day parking being created in front of the funeral home. So just a comment.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Counselor Hodgins?
Thank you. I just have two quick questions. The first question is, I guess, how do we arrive at the 3-hour time limit? I seem to think, or just maybe from experience in the city of London, that I think 2 hours is sort of like the standard window for this sort of thing. So I just wanted to understand how we landed on 3 hours. That's the first question.
Yeah, and through the mayor, that's a good question, because I had originally put forward 2 hours. Based on that being an example of what's generally used in the community. And in discussion, there is businesses that offer services that take over 2 hours to complete. So it was pointed out to me that 2 hours would not be beneficial to a couple of the businesses downtown.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is, how does this get enforced? How does the 3-hour time limit get enforced? And
Yeah, so again, through the mayor, good question, because we're not out here, like, we generally don't run our bylaw out on the streets, and we're not looking for we're not trying to make fines, we're not trying to issue tickets on a regular basis. What we want is to find that if there's a problem on the main street, that if we get a report of a vehicle that is abusing the parking system, that's when we can notify our bylaw officers to look for that vehicle and mark that vehicle, more or less to check it out. And we're not planning on putting chalk marks on tires and that sort of thing to see if they've turned. If that's it's more about trying to get the education out there and trying to promote the downtown. So
okay, thanks for that. Yeah, it's a good point about the education. Like, maybe if there's like a warning system in place for when that first rolls out, that might help to get the message across. Thank you.
yeah, and maybe just to follow up, Mayor, our hope is that with this, as long as we find most people follow the rules. And really I think as long as people get an understanding that, and they maybe don't understand that if they do park in front of a business and take that spot, that it's hurting that business next door or 2 doors down. So the hope is once we introduce this, people realize that yeah, let's follow the rules. And if I have to find a more permanent spot, then we'll try and find more permanent spots for our employees.
Great. Any other comments? Deputy Mayor Manders again?
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's a good idea. And again, small walking distance down our side street. Again, you just hope that everyone be more respectful and see that turnover of cars parking on Main Street. I think it's a good idea. I was just curious from Lisa, just, I don't know, I want to put you on the spot, but we're most, would you say every address was brought aware of this, or some addresses on where this will impact?
Through you, Madam Mayor, once I was kind of waiting for this bylaw to be passed, and then now with it hopefully being passed, we will do some information sharing with those businesses. It'll be on the next newsletter, those sort of things, to give everyone a heads up that this is coming, to just kind of let them know. But we will email them directly and like I said, get as much information out there as possible so that they're aware of this new bylaw.
See, and I was thinking a little bit of the opposite. I don't mind passing it, but I guess if I was thinking if there was, if there's 15 businesses there and 14 don't like them, then like this, who am I to change? Like, if you know, I'm kind of thinking the reverse of that. Again, if I don't know how many addresses there is, if there's 14 addresses and again, 13 don't like this, I don't know why I should. But I don't mind passing it. And maybe maybe before you order the signs, you feel the barometer, at least from those people. I don't know if that makes sense to everyone else, but again, if we feel we're trying to help them, but if 90% of them say we're hurting them, I think I'd like to hear that. I didn't, but anyways, that's just a comment.
Yeah, and through the mayor, yeah, at this point, we haven't ordered the signs, obviously. And I think you're exactly right. It'd be good to get an educational, through social media and through contact with the actual business owners themselves, and see where we go. Because if there is some negative comment, it would be nice to bring it back. But at the same time, I think there'll be some welcoming of this from some of the businesses that I have talked to downtown. So we can certainly feel how things are going to play out before the signs are up.
I'm in favor of proceeding tonight with this, but I just hope the next thing will be the education that this was passed and going forward, and I guess gauging what staff, I guess we would get emails probably tonight potentially, or after your conversations fairly quickly, I guess, if there was major blowback. So I like the idea. I don't own a business downtown. I don't know what their thoughts are, right? So.
Okay, any other comments? I might just suggest and you mentioned, Lisa, that you would do a newsletter and email, but if there was any possibility, just about a flyer, like door to door for them as well, because I think that information is going to be key to get it to them as much as possible. So, okay. Okay. So we do have a motion in front of us that report number PW-17-2022 be received, and that council approve and adopt parking bylaw number 44-2022. A mover and a seconder, Councillor Hodgins and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? And that's carried. Did you have any verbals, Jeff?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to make sure everybody kind of advertising that we do have our open house this Thursday night. It is for our wastewater treatment expansion. It takes place at the office here, and the doors will be open from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Matt Pearson and Lisa Courtney will be on site here to answer any questions about the expansion and what's happening.
And so it's just an open house. Nobody has to register. They can just come.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And that was it. That was it. Okay. Parks and Rec, Paul.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. No official reports this evening, but a few verbal updates. Firstly, I want to thank Abby Vandermuren, our Parks and Recreation Coordinator, and her staff for a successful summer. We were able to provide an expanded program for our summer day camp, which was hugely subscribed to by the community, and we're looking forward to expanding it further in this upcoming year with the community center renovation. We're going to be able to provide more things like this for families, which is fantastic, as we are growing quite a bit as a community with small families, and it's nice to be able to provide that service to them as well. I want to thank Tonda for working with us to provide a successful pool season. Residents were quite happy, the ones that were able to utilize our facility for swimming lessons and public swimming, that we were able to provide some sort of programming this summer. Obviously, it wasn't perfect with the construction. There was minimal closures due to overhead crane work, which was ideal. And we were still able to work with community members who were seeking pools to direct them towards the Kirkton pool or South Huron or St. Mary's, maybe pools they weren't aware of that had similar sizes, similar price structures as ours. So it was good to be able to connect people that way. Upcoming shortly, we're working with the ABCA to begin planting on the lid behind the community center. As Councillor Wesson did indicate before, staffing is always a struggle for them. So, that's delayed it a little bit than when we wanted to start it. So if anyone in the community watching this wants to volunteer to help assist with planting, please reach out to myself and I'll help coordinate that, because they do have limited staff. It is a very large project, and the more help we can get, the better. And just to tie on to that, if anyone has a chance to pass by Elm Street Park, the family of Stan and Diane Flood, when they donated a bench in memory of their parents, they also wanted to see what else they could add to the park. And something they did was donate some beneficial butterfly bushes that are low maintenance. So it's easier for us maintaining the park. They should, they are past their flowering point this season, unfortunately, but they will develop into nice, good sized bushes. It's something that we're trying to encourage family members, if they want to donate things to parks. It beautifies and makes our park actually have a good function. So if anyone gets a chance, please pass by there and kind of see what we can do. I think it's something we've been trying to encourage with families as they donate benches and want to do something else. So
And that's it, Paul. Okay, great. Okay, economic development, Lisa. So, or, yep, sure. Jaden or Counselor Hodgins, you have a quick question?
Thank you. Yes, just a quick question for you, Paul. Thanks for the verbal updates. Great to hear that we had a successful pool season despite all the construction and the challenges around that. Just a quick question on that. I assume as we're operating the pool, that we're collecting like data on its usage and the numbers. And just curious on how that is done, or if it is done, because it'll be interesting to sort of track that with, the plans we have for the upgrade of the pool or the renovation of the pool, to see how that data moves moving forward. But just quick question on maybe what we have for that information.
yes, absolutely. So every summer we collect registration information for swimming lessons. So that's an easy one to be able to bring forward to council, as well as part of our requirement for maintaining the pool is we have to require record the amount of swimmers per day for proper makeup, water and so forth. So we could put a report together for that. That should be not an issue at all.
Thanks. Not necessarily requesting a report back to council, but just great to hear that. I guess we're tracking that information, and that's going to be available for us in the future. Thanks.
Absolutely.
That might be good information to have at budget time.
Yes.
As we think about our programming and what we're doing. going
And
forward. Yep.
if I may, through you, Madam Mayor, I would also, I think it's good that we can look back at past years as well, because obviously this year it may not be the same as 2019 or 2018, but I think as the time comes, as we reflect upon it, especially once the new pool is complete and we have that new pool season in, hopefully a brand new flashy pool with additional accessibility might kind of boost those numbers a bit. So I think it'll be a good reflection on our investment.
Okay, Lisa, economic development.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one quick thing. The fundraising committee for the renovation project at the community center had organized a Color Me Green sort of run walk for September 24th. Unfortunately, we're going to postpone that until 23, maybe spring, fall, just logistics wise, and kind of it was a little quick planning. But instead, we're going to have a little kind of information day on that same September 24th, but it'll be at our municipal lot downtown with some information booths, some activities for kids. Hopefully, we're still kind of working out some of the details, whether there's maybe some live music and those sort of things. So it'll be 10 to 2 on Saturday, the 24th. And like I said, keep watch for more details. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Perfect. Okay, councillor comments. Any comments from my colleagues? Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan.
I just had a question for Jeff. It was just if you can refresh my memory, the salt bins and the purchase of the salt. I was just curious, what's our program this year again, or we still have access to this, the salt, the purchase of the salt. I forget now how this is gonna work going forward. Cause we used to get the salt from down at, obviously down at Field. And I'm having a brain cramp on this now and I just,
Yeah, and through the mayor, so we did not actually get our salt through the ministry. We actually are set up with our own account and we buy our salt through a supplier. We were getting our sand through the
it's the
MTO.
sand.
It was the sand volume that we were buying through the MTO through that system. So we're currently arranging with a local contractor. The Joe, the supervisor, is actually looking, reaching out to see where who would be interested in supplying us with the sand. And then we'll purchase our salt like we have before in the past, and then mix our own sand salt mixture up to put in the shed.
yeah, my question then, sorry, should have been sand, not salt. So now are you concerned at all about securing it or anything or pricing or anything, or not, where it's too early in the game yet?
I'm not, through the mayor, I'm not concerned at this point, just because sand is a commodity that is available. And the amount that we do use certainly is not going to, it's not a large amount. So, and we can, when I say reach out to suppliers, we are reaching out to local suppliers, Blaine's, Carter's, that sort of thing to locate a supply for us. So.
Okay, no, very good, thanks.
Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just two very quick things, actually, three very quick things. So I just want to own the pool. I was at a neighborhood function, sort of a block party. There were a number of 3 or 4 sets of parents who were very thankful and happy with the way the pool went run, the hours, the availability, the staff, the fact that we were in the midst of all that construction. I just wanted to pass that on because it was very positive and they were very thankful that their kids had a pool this summer. Just really quick, I'm not sure if I should be asking Jeff or Paul quickly. In the winter, a resident asked about in the wintertime, do we plow the track? I know it's 80 degrees out, but do we plow the track in the winter so people can walk that track? Is that something we do?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Currently, no, we do not. The track surface, it's chip and dust. It's an old horse track, so it's not the most ideal for plowing. It can be pretty soft when it's wet. As well, a lot of the majority of the snow from the ice surface ends up behind the community center. And oftentimes we have to blow it back onto the track just to make room for more plowing and more snow, because it doesn't melt in the wintertime as it does in the summer, but not at the moment, especially not that it's not hardscaped.
Okay, all right, thank you. And just one more quick thing. And I think maybe for Jeff, I had residents this time of year, what's happened is there's a lot of growth over sidewalks. And unless you're 5'1", there's a lot of like in the walkways as well. I know that one of the walkways was cleaned up. I don't know if we did it or if a resident did. My question, I guess, is going to be from a resident, a couple of them, is it responsibility of the homeowner out the front of their house to clear out the bush if it's like overgrown on the sidewalk? Is it something the township should do? And how do people get in touch with somebody at the township, if it is ours, so that we can get that cleared up? Thank you.
Yeah, and through the mayor, that's yeah, I like that question, because when we get growth over the sidewalk and whether it's a small bush or cedar hedge, that sort of thing, by accessibility or minimum maintenance standards, we have to open the sidewalk up. It has to be, we have to cut the branches back and open that up. So I really promote the homeowner to trim their own trees and to trim their own bushes, because of they'll treat their bush maybe a little nicer than if we send staff around, because if we come back to cut it, it's going to get cut back. And we've done that. We've done it in a number of spots in Granton and around Lucan, where we do have a hedge that is coming out, and we just have to cut it back. So I really promote the homeowner, to try and keep their landscape back from the sidewalk. Having said that, if a resident comes across an issue that's something, and it can be more than a bush, it could be landscaping of any sort that is interfering with the sidewalk. This is a great plug. We're now introducing on our website a request for service. It's just gone live, actually, I think today. And that they can go online and request a service of that sort, and it'll take you through a number of items such as sidewalk, roads, bylaws, and that sort of thing. So I promote if any of the residents see something, it's the perfect opportunity to go online, enter the information in, and we can follow it up with staff.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Counselor Westman.
Yeah, just wanted to update on a few things. The Granton Fireman's annual breakfast was held on the 21st, and my understanding it was quite successful. I was there, and there was a lot of people showed up, and it felt very much like the old days. It was great. A lot of people I haven't seen in a couple of years were there, and it was really good. The Lucan Biddulph Fire Department is having their fireman's breakfast on September 11th. And I should remind everyone that the proceeds from these fundraiser breakfasts go to our community directly, and they often will use the monies to purchase equipment to offset the cost of operations for the community. So it's a great thing, and the firefighters really put their hearts into it. So it's really well done. An update on the community gardens. Both Lucan and Granton pride themselves on their gardens, and they do amazing work donating to the food bank. And that's something that, years ago when we first brought the idea forward to council to open up these gardens and at the arena and at the Granton Park, it was kind of a wait and see how it goes. Well, it's going. And I know that there's programs over here in Lucan, but I can speak specifically to the ones in Granton where the operators of the gardens are working with the local kids. They have a group in Granton called the Little Sprouts, and they kids of, I don't know what the age range is, but I think they're 5 to say 12 years old that are learning how to garden, learning how to clean and prepare the food that they grow, and making meals for themselves. And it's a pretty great thing. I think every child should know how to provide themselves with their own food, but it's been great. And I hear back from a lot of the parents of the kids that are in that program, and their kids are excited about it. So it's a pretty great thing. So within our community, we've got some great stuff going on, and we often lose sight of that when we're in our busy day to day. But I know the Lucan Fireman's Breakfast is going, or Firefighters Breakfast, let's be more clear. The Lucan Firefighters Breakfast will be well attended as well. And again, the proceeds go towards things for our own community. So it's a great thing. Great.
Thank you for that update. Alex, any other councillor comments? I just had one, and I guess maybe just a bit of a discussion or question of staff. So we're coming up to September 30th, which of course is the Day of Reconciliation, when we think about our Indigenous history. And last year we had an education session that Ron was able to put together for staff and council members that were available, and just wanted to remind council that we will be doing something as staff and council that day. I don't think anything has been confirmed at this moment, but we are working towards that, and that we will be recognizing as a staff and council the Day of Reconciliation on September 30th. Right, if there are no more comments, then we will move into our motions. I don't have any changes to budget. Do you have any notices of motion? Okay, then we will go into our motions for tonight. The first one in front of us is the accounts paid, and the motion is that the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph receive the attached accounts as paid for information as follows. For July of 2022, $2,509,931.77. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Counselor Westman and Counselor Regan, all in favor? And that is carried. That the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph authorize Rhonda Frieder to enroll in Unit 1 of the Municipal Tax Administration Program offered through Seneca College at a cost of $417.20, including HST. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Counselor Hodgins and Deputy Mayor Manders, all in favor? And that is carried. That the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph authorize Brett Hodgins to enroll in the Aquatics Facility Operations Program offered through Orpha at a cost of $870, including HST. And a mover and a seconder for that, please. Counselor Regan and Counselor Westman, all in favor? And that is carried. That the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph authorize Paul Smith to enroll in the General Concurrent Session Forum offered through Orpha at a cost of $400, including HST. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Counselor Westman and Counselor Hodgins, all in favor? And that is carried. And before I move on to the rest, I think I made this comment at our last council meeting, but I think it's great to see our staff take advantage of education opportunities that are in front of them. We have a few bylaws in front of us. Bylaw 44-2022 to regulate and control parking within the Township of Lucan Biddulph, and Bylaw 45-2022 to adopt and confirm all actions and proceedings of the Council of the Township of Lucan Biddulph at the council meeting held on September 6th. 2022. So the motion is that if no one cares to speak to bylaws 44-2022 through 45-2022 inclusive on their first, second, and third reading, that they be considered to have been read a first time and passed, read a second time and passed, and read a third time and passed. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Counselor Regan and Counselor Hodgins, all in favor? And that is carried. And resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:47 PM. Leaving on a jet plane. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Manders and Counselor Westman, all in favor?